Hello again, everybody. Welcome to CBL's Frenemies, but maybe a podcast thingy to be renamed very soon. It's very exciting and probably terrible. We'll get back to you on that. I'm Dennis. That's Patrick. That's Eleni. Natalie is on assignment. We apologize that we were off schedule in this latest episode, but Eleni was appearing all week on The View, so we had to work around her schedule. What's it like to work with Whoopi, Eleni?
It's been great. We've really bonded over so many different topics, and I think I'm now going to be a repeat guest. So see me there next week too.
That's fantastic. So be sure everybody to tune in for that train wreck. Um, so let's get to it because in our delay while you were on The View, Eleni, first of all, there's like 12 feet of snow outside, and I walked my dog yesterday. It was 2 degrees, just two, single digit. So for all of our viewers, overseas and in South Florida, that's what you're missing by not being in Chicago. Sure, it's much warmer where Patrick and Eleni are. But let's get to it. We missed a lot of important news updates. I guess this weekend or whenever this episode appears, so whenever this weekend happens, there will not be, at any rate, you're not going to miss a big powwow between Mayor Johnson and about 26 alders who are opposing his budget because I guess Patrick, the mayor, basically said, I haven't looked at it, but I'm against it. Basically, their alternative ideas for the budget.
I mean, every institution is a deadline-driven organization in government, but this dysfunction on this budget is truly remarkable, even by Chicago, Illinois standards. And what I will say is, at least we see some legislating out of legislators. I'll defend them. They're finally speaking up and saying, what you're selling isn't necessarily the best, and that's good, right? No one has a monopoly on good ideas. So I'm going to give credit to the legislators on this one.
Eleni, we kind of jumped into the middle of the movie, but the rump group of alders have told the mayor that rather than have a head tax on employees at Chicago businesses, they would propose a variety of other taxes. So don't tax me, don't tax you, tax the man behind the tree. So the plan includes raising a garbage fee that had been $9.50 a month, almost doubling that to $18 a month. Some new charges on rideshare. And the mayor's office has basically dismissed that out of hand, sent a lengthy letter to those alders. So where do you think this is headed, Eleni?
Well, it doesn't sound great, particularly for me, since I live within the city limits. So I'll add that garbage doubling of the rate to my already $7,000 increased property taxes. So that's cool. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound good. Where does this end? Where do they come to consensus? And do they come to consensus? At some point, someone's going to have to just bring everybody to the table in some way. And again, I just don't know if that's possible. Just given the dire circumstances of where things are at right now within the city.
Yeah, the response of the two different factions here kind of reminds me of the cinematic classic Night Shift, which starred the Fonz and Michael Keaton. And Michael Keaton played a quirky overnight employee at the coroner's office and carried a handheld recorder with him where he would notate his various good ideas. And one of them was edible garbage. So it
Yeah,
might be time to bring that back.
might as well. I mean, Just add it to the list.
I
Edible
think
garbage sounds like all of my City of Chicago bills that I've been getting lately.
that would be a nice potential name for the podcast. But I think the problem that can be solved, like, you can just ride on the back of the garbage truck. You're already paying $9 a month for it. It'll be cheaper than your Uber. Just, hey, hold on, just take me to Wacker, please.
You know, when
I
I
think
was a
that
kid, I thought that was the coolest job ever. They don't have as many of them on the garbage truck as they used to under earlier work rule situations. But being the guy that hung off the back of the garbage truck, that seemed like pretty cool gig. And you could take turns, like maybe like I could hang on the back of the garbage truck, and then maybe my brother could hang on the back of the garbage truck, and I could be the guy in back of the garbage truck that would yell "ho," and then the garbage truck would have to stop, and they would pick up more garbage.
well, let's just be clear. They're probably all making more money than all of us combined. So it wasn't a bad path for you to pursue at the time, Dennis.
Right, right.
They're totally
I
unrelated
probably
to
have
the
a
fact that
pension that
Chicago
isn't
can't
going to get
balance its
funded.
budget.
Exactly.
This head tax. It's the interesting thing about the head tax. It's sort of a public relations, public affairs lesson as well, because there's this notion of the sticky idea, and the head tax, in and of itself, may not be as terrible as it sounds. It's pretty terrible. It certainly sends a bad message, but I don't know that any company would be put out of business by it. But it's so easy to define for the opponents, right? We will charge you for every employee you hire over 100 or 200. It's a bit of a rolling number as they negotiate this. And that just sounds like keep the number under, right? Don't bring more people into the city to work. And so it's just a really sticky idea. So the alders had said charging business for every employee they hire sends a wrong message at a critical time. It's a tax on the employment Chicagoans need. City's real estate tax leaders have opposed it. The head of the Building Owners and Managers Association, so all the downtown buildings that have been struggling to come back to life post-COVID, said that the head tax penalizes employers for creating jobs and for bringing workers into the city. It risks slowing down Chicago's downtown revitalization. Now, the mayor, of course, has used this as an opportunity to really play to his base and to talk about in various derogatory terms about the ultra rich and how they need to step up and pay more. And so he's used his own sticky idea to play to his base off of this controversy, which is just part of an overall complicated budget, which looks a lot more like whack-a-mole than it looks like bookkeeping.
Yeah, I think that's the definition of what we've seen and what we will continue to see. But yeah, I think it's interesting. The tax raising idea is always where everybody lands, right? Because what other solutions do they have to come up with in such a tight time frame? And this is where we all get frustrated, not just with our city officials, but also with state officials, that can we just put a little bit more thought into some of this stuff in advance so maybe we can come up with some solutions? But instead, everything waits to the last minute, and we end up in this situation where a lower tax than what was projected is a win. They're like, oh my God, look, like now we're only going to raise it this much instead of this much. And I'm like, well, why couldn't we have just figured this out before and maybe worked on it over time? And maybe there was another solution somewhere along the way. And look,
Yeah.
I understand things are in dire straits across the board. Not necessarily all due to anything any elected officials have done. It's just, I wish at some point people would start adopting the strategy of working through long-term remedies and not all these band-aids that, is always a strategy, and it's just frustrating because we
Just
all we all.
a lot of buzzer beaters, right?
Hmm.
Someone took the time, though, at City Hall to write a 17-page response to the alders who are in opposition. And it include basically alleges that the opposition groups and the business groups that are aligned with them don't have data to support their position. But what I found interesting in our friend over at the Sun-Times, Fran Spielman's report, was that the 17-page response was delivered to only 23 of the 26 alders who oppose the mayor's budget.
But paper and ink is a hot commodity at this budget. They're just being efficient here. A 17-page letter, like, okay, that's a lot of ink.
And there may be some hardball politics being played. Jason Lee, the mayor's advisor, hinted to Fran that some of the 26 were peeling off. Meanwhile, other business leaders, we talked about this last time we talked about the city budget, other business groups are weighing in with the media, and Joe Ferguson, head of the Civic Federation, told Fran Spielman that the rating agencies are telling the city, quote, "Get your act together. Stop with the one-time revenue sources. Get to the structural fixes because what you're doing is not sustainable. You are out of time."
No
There you
comment.
have it. Yeah, no comment. All right. He has given the city an international reputation for moronic buffoonery, barbaric crime, triumphant hoodlumism, unchecked graft, and a dejected citizenship, quote, unquote, the Chicago Tribune in 1931. So the more things...
Lots of people fit in that box, so stay silent.
The more things change, the more they stay the
This
same.
is
But
this is being recorded, so
look, the Tribune used that quote in a day two of some really nice tributes to former Chicago Tribune publisher, editor, editorial page editor Bruce Dold, won a Pulitzer as editorial page editor and writer, and cited that quote because that was something Dold wrote about when he ascended to the head of the page 25 years ago. And Chris Jones and his current team noted about that quote, saying, "We are still on occasion critical of our current mayor, but hardly in those terms. For being an honorable and decent man who works hard and loves his city, he would not deserve any of them." And I think that's true. I think Mayor Johnson has a lot of passion for the city, just very stark policy differences with his opponents. But that sort of cynical attitude towards who runs the city and how the city runs has been around for a long time, and somehow we have survived. Losing Bruce was somewhat of a surprise to me. Now, apparently, former President Obama's staff informed him that Bruce was ill and was able to get a note into him before Bruce passed. My staff failed me, but I had a lot of exchanges with Bruce over the years, and he really smart guy, one of the smartest to run that page and to run an opinion page in any media organization. Could be really tough, especially on some of the clients that I was talking to him on behalf of, not the least of which was the former great governor of the state of Illinois. But I will say this, and Patrick might remember this, we were involved in a really tumultuous year long. I knew I was in trouble when the lawyer that called me asked me to help out. So this is going to be the easiest engagement you ever had. And it lasted a year, and it was terrible. And it was the head of Metro at the time, Brad O'Halloran, who's a good guy, but he thought he was doing a favor by sort of defending Speaker Madigan and protecting Speaker Madigan. And of course, Speaker Madigan triangulated that whole situation, and Brad was the one that wound up getting punished and sitting in front of a firing squad of legislators. And we don't need to revisit all of that, but at the end of that drama, and it was very painful, I felt bad for Brad when he was sitting in front of that legislative panel. And I felt bad for myself having to be publicly associated with the whole failing enterprise. But at the end of it, I had dinner with Bruce and with his deputy at the time, John McCormick, who later went on to run the page. And I said, okay, Metro had some problems. Brad made some mistakes. You got him, but why are we not focusing on the speaker who created this whole controversy? And the controversy stemmed from something that later on became part of his trial, which was a former executive director of Metro had claimed that he was being forced by his board to hire Madigan cronies on the Metro payroll. Sounds familiar, right? And I'll never forget this. We were sitting outside Volare in Lower Grand, like perfect place to have a conversation like this. And the first and only time Bruce backed away from his table after a very nice dinner, excellent pasta and other dishes at Volare. He says, Dennis is right. We've given the speaker a pass. I don't know if it all changed that evening, but Tribune certainly got a lot more aggressive in their inquiry and commenting on Speaker Madigan. And we've talked about Speaker Madigan and whether or not he deserves all of the ignominy that he's experiencing. And he was the best at what he did for a long time. But that was how quickly Bruce could arrive at cogent point, how he could internalize information, how he was fair-minded and would listen to feedback from someone who was really getting beat up by the editorial board. So anyway, I had a lot of great memories of him and a lot of admiration for him, and he will be missed.
I'll say it is really too bad in today's society as well that the opinion pages have become, everyone writes their own opinion page because they all have an X account. But back 10 years ago, right, a well thought out editorial could meaningfully make or break some stuff, and it was honest, hardworking people sit around, talk about issues they're all familiar with it, and they could move things. And really, it's just a statement of time that there aren't community-focused organizations and groups that would even take the time to sit down and say, "Oh, what is a better plan? Like the budget sucks. What's a more reasonable approach?" And I think if more people would detach themselves from just sharing their own opinion and working together on collective points, some of these community challenges, wherever they are, we'd all be better off. But he had no shortage of well-written editorial and opinions, and we, as a society, we're missing some of that.
Well, I think it was very sad that the Sun-Times got out of the opinion page editorial. They still take people's opinions in letters to the editor and op-eds, but that was a loss, especially because you could get different viewpoints from both sides. There was never huge readership of editorials, but it was always a very respected thing. And I think Chris Jones is doing a great job at the Tribune trying to make that relevant. He's recruited some excellent writers and thinkers. Just talked to Steve Daniels the other day. I know he's very committed to what they do. So here is to the Tribune editorial page continuing for another 90 years so that we can look back on their quotes today in that future time when we're on spaceships to Mars with Elon. Speaking of the future of the Tribune, they filed a copyright infringement lawsuit in New York federal court against Perplexity AI. Now, just that sentence alone, when Bruce took over the page in 2000, would have sounded like mumbo jumbo. But there's big bucks involved. Perplexity AI is one of the artificial intelligence platforms, companies, ginormous. They require data centers. And the complaint by the Tribune challenged the unauthorized use of often fully reproduced Tribune reporting to provide answers on Perplexity AI platforms, both in their chatbot and in their new search engine. Elena, are you on artificial intelligence right now?
Yeah, I am. I am AI. I don't know if you've noticed. It's not really me here.
I have seen someone on the AI take, and it is an interesting perspective, right? Like, how are you? We all have the knowledge of having read the editorials for 20 years. Do we owe the Tribune a royalty because we read their paper?
Yeah.
It's this new frontier of stuff. I've also, and I'm not sure it's fully vetted yet, but like if you use AI and you copyright your work product, like who owns it? All of those things. It's just going to be
Right.
a wild time, and it's. I feel for the publishers because you do type in an answer and you get it back, and it's like, well, the service did read it, and it has correctly interpreted your good work, and it's providing an answer, but unfortunately, the people aren't reading the full body of work. It's kind of a quick vicious cycle.
Well, Lenny,
Yeah.
I felt like the media companies back in the 90s missed the boat on this new thing called the internet and
hmm
allowed a lot of this kind of scraping and repurposing to take place on Google and Yahoo and all of the other big media companies at the time, later Facebook. So I'm all for them fighting a little harder this time and trying to stake out their turf and get some compensation if they can make their case.
Yeah. I mean, I at one point I was an intern at the Tribune, and I will never forget Facebook was becoming a thing, and I had to learn. It's funny now, thinking me of all people would be the one to be the first to learn there. And so I was like I just was learning about, like, I made an account. I was like, okay, what is this? And then I will never forget sitting in a conference room in the Trib Tower with some of the reporters that are still there today and explaining why we needed to merge into Facebook because of how we can utilize news. And at the time, there was, unfortunately, wow, which is sad to think about this, that we still deal with these things today, was there was a school shooting at Northern Illinois University.
I remember
And
that.
we I used the Facebook account that I created to kind of like infiltrate the school's Facebook to try to find witnesses that we could talk to. And then this is how this turned into then me having to give a presentation to some of the newsroom members saying, okay, this is how we figured this out, and this is why, you know, we can use Facebook to our advantage when we're reporting. And I would probably say that the information was taken with mixed reviews in the room. And I would say some people embraced it and some people did not, even to this day. And I can't even say that I really embraced it that much thereafter, but it is we can't. I think we've all learned, especially recently with all the AI stuff going on, that we can't fight against it because it's happening, and learning everything we can about it and how to incorporate it into what we do, and how to make sure we're protecting our work products as well, I think is the most important thing at this point, given where things are going, that we could be.
First of all, do you think that artificial intelligence is taking our great material from this show and regurgitating it and repurposing it and making billions of dollars?
I hope not,
That
for
would,
many reasons.
that would certainly be an advancement of the idiocracy. But Producer
Hmm.
Grace, how about that origin story of Eleni using internet reporting
Yeah,
for
like
journalism?
OG, literally
Big round of
OG.
applause.
Oh, geez.
Yep. All right, so Patrick and Eleni, the time has come for other things that sound terrible that we can't wait for. Patrick, you got anything off the top of your head that sound terrible?
The budgets are all balanced out here in Western Naperville, so I don't have a terrible budget story for you. But coming into the future, I will even say the Naperville School District is reporting that they will begin to run out of money in a couple of years. So the forward-thinking process is occurring, and they haven't. They identify the problem, but it's gonna take a couple of years to work on the solution to it. But even Naperville is succumbing to budget palooza in future years.
Terribleness is down the road. Eleni, what feels or sounds terrible to you?
Yeah, so I'm gonna read something that I saw come across Twitter, X, whatever it's called, yesterday. And it says the temperature, this is from the National Weather Service in Chicago. The temperature in Aurora last night at 10 p.m. was negative 14 degrees. Meanwhile, the temperature in downtown Chicago was 17 degrees, not negative 17, 17 degrees at the same exact time. It's literally a 31 degree difference across 45 miles. So, that's insane, first of all. But I say this because what is truly terrible right now for me and was I do drop offs in the morning, and today it was quite a brace for impact when I stepped outside and had to walk to the car in the
These are
well
bougie problems.
10 degrees, and fighting a child that thinks a t-shirt is fine, and we don't need a hat, we're fine. So foresee a lot of illness coming my way, but yeah, these temps are pretty bad.
Everything is fine. What are you talking about? So, in pondering what I can't wait for that sounds terrible, I happened to check my horoscope. Now, I'm pretty superstitious about a lot of things. That probably explains my love of baseball. Because, baseball players, famously will like not change their socks for 7 days if they're on a winning streak or getting hits or whatever. But I don't ever, except when I'm preparing for sounds terrible, can't wait, look at my horoscope until the end of the day, if I look at it at all. Sometimes I look at it at the end of the day to find out if it was accurate or not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to read it to you. Today will test your patience because the moon is in your sign at odds with fiery Mars and stern Saturn. Okay, so that's not a good start. You might feel a bit depressed or lonely. Relationships will be tough. Separations might occur. It's also easy to be annoyed with someone. Time
Uh-oh.
to send out for dark chocolate.
Mm.
It sounds like it's all over for me.
Yeah, I think you should call it.
I know the governor recently signed that bill that allows like more end of life decisions.
Did he say it? I don't think I thought he was still up in the air
Um,
on that.
okay, well maybe he should sign it.
You
It
should
sounds
get
like
home and there's just a Toblerone. Run, run.
Well, the dark chocolate part sounds good. Everything else sounds terrible. Everything truly is terrible. Producer Grace, famous for Grace Draw Stuff, who also produces stuff, is our producer. That's Patrick. That's Eleni. I'm Dennis. It's terrible. We'll see you soon if I make it.